The book of Asher, we're continuing on with chapter 26 to 30. Chapter 26 talks about Isaac and Rebekah pray for children. Their prayers are answered, and Esau and Jacob are born. Abraham, after recounting all the wonderful works of mighty God Ahiah, enjoins his son to walk in his ways and keep his commandments. Chapter 27 talks about Esau slayed Nimrod and two of his mighty men, returns home weary from the fight, and sells his birthright for value. Chapter 28 talks about on account of the famine, Isaac goes to Gerar, the land of the Philistines. After the famine, he returns at the command of mighty God Ahiah to Hebron, and Jacob is sent to the house of Shem, where he remains 32 years to learn the ways of mighty God Ahiah. Chapter 29 talks about Jacob by deceit obtains his brother's blessing. Jacob, fearing his brother's anger, flees to the house of Eber, where he remains for 14 years. Esau again marries a woman of the land. Jacob returns to his father, but being still threatened by Esau, is advised by his mother to go to her brother Laban in Haran. And chapter 30 talks about when he arrives at Mount Moriah, mighty God Ahiah appears to Jacob and establishes a covenant with him. Arriving at his uncle's house, he engages to serve 7 years for Rachel. So let's get into chapter 26. Chapter 26. And in the 59th year of the life of Isaac, the son of Abraham, Rebekah his wife was still barren in those days. And Rebekah said unto Isaac, Truly I have heard, my lord, that thy mother Sarah was barren in her days, until mighty God Ahiah, Abraham thy father, prayed for her, and she conceived by him. Now therefore stand up and pray thou also to mighty God Ahiah, and he will hear thy prayer and remember us through his mercies. And Isaac answered his wife Rebekah, saying, Abraham has already prayed for me to mighty God Ahiah to multiply his seed. Now therefore this barrenness must proceed to us from thee. And Rebekah said unto him, But arise now thou also and pray, that mighty God Ahiah may hear thy prayer and grant me children. And Isaac hearkened to the words of his wife. And Isaac and his wife rose up and went to the land of Moriah to pray there and to seek mighty God Ahiah. And when they had reached that place, Isaac stood up and prayed to mighty God Ahiah on account of his wife, because she was barren. And Isaac said to mighty God Ahiah, O heaven and earth. And back that up again. Verse 6. And Isaac said, O mighty God Ahiah, of heaven and earth, whose goodness and mercies fill the earth, thou whose didst take my father from his father's house, and from his birthplace, and didst bring him unto this land, and didst say unto him, To thy seed will I give this land, and thou didst promise him, and didst declare unto him, I will multiply thy seed as the stars of heaven, as the sand of the sea. Now may thy words be verified, which thou didst speak unto my father. For thou art mighty God Ahiah, our King and Savior and Master, Heavenly Father. Our eyes are toward thee, to give us seed of men, as thou didst promise us. For thou art mighty God Ahiah of heaven and earth, and our eyes are directed toward thee only. And mighty God Ahiah heard the prayer of Isaac, the son of Abraham, and mighty God Ahiah was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And in about 7 months after, the children struggled together within her, and it pained her greatly that she was wearied on account of them. And she said to all the women who were then in the land, Did such a thing happen to you as it has to me? And they said unto her, No. And she said unto them, Why am I alone in this amongst all the women that were upon earth? And she went to the land of Moriah to seek mighty God Ahiah on account of this. And she went to Shem and Eber his son, to make inquiries of them in this matter, and that they should seek mighty God Ahiah in this thing respecting her. And she, Rebekah, also asked Abraham to seek and inquire of mighty God Ahiah among all that had befallen her. And they all inquired of mighty God Ahiah concerning this matter, and they brought her word from mighty God Ahiah, and told her, 2 children are in thy womb, and 2 nations shall rise from them, and one nation shall be stronger than the other, and the greater shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were completed, she knelt down, and behold, there were twins in her womb, as mighty God Ahiah had spoken to her. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and all the people of the land called his name Esau, saying that this one was made complete from the womb. And after that came his brother, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, therefore they called his name Jacob. And Isaac, the son of Abraham, was 60 years old when he begat them. And the boys grew up to their 15th year, and they came amongst the society of men. Esau was a designing and deceitful man, and an expert hunter in the field. And Jacob was a man perfect and wise, dwelling in tents, feeding flocks, and learning the instructions of mighty God Ahiah and the commands of his father and mother. And Isaac and the children of his household dwelt with his father Abraham in the land of Canaan, as mighty God Ahiah had commanded them. And Ishmael, the son of Abraham, went with his children and all belonging to them, and they returned there to the land of Havilah, and they dwelt there. All the children of Abraham's concubines went to dwell in the land of the east, for Abraham had sent them away from his son, and had given them presents, and they went away. And Abraham gave all that he had to his son Isaac, and he also gave him all his treasures. And he commanded him, saying, Dost thou not know and understand? Mighty God Ahiah is mighty God in all heaven and in earth, and there is no other besides him. And it was he who took me from my father's house and from my birthplace, and gave me all the delights upon earth. And he delivered me from the counsels of the wicked, for in him did I trust. And he brought me to this place, and he delivered me from Kasdan. And he said unto me, To thy seed will I give all these lands, and they shall inherit them, when they keep my commandments, by my statutes, and my judgments that I have commanded thee, and which I shall command them. Now therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, and keep the commandments of mighty God Ahiah thy El Elohi, which I command thee. Do not turn from the right way, either to the right or to the left, in order that it may be well with thee and thy children after thee. And remember the wonderful works of mighty God Ahiah, and his kindness that he has shown toward us, in having delivered us from the hands of our enemies. And mighty God Ahiah, our King and Savior, caused them to fall into our hands. And now therefore keep all that I have commanded thee, and turn not away from the commandments of mighty God Ahiah, our El Elohi, our Elohim, and serve not none besides him, in order that it may be well with thee and thy seed after thee. And teach thou thy children and thy seed the instructions of mighty God Ahiah and his commandments, and teach them the upright way in which they should go, in order that it may be well with them forever. And Isaac answered his father and said unto him, That which my king, mighty God Ahiah, has commanded, that I will do, and I will not depart from the commands of mighty God Ahiah, my El Elohi. I will keep all that he commanded me. And Abraham blessed his son Isaac, and also his children. And Abraham taught Jacob the instructions of the way of mighty God Ahiah and his ways. And it was at the time that Abraham died, in the 15th year of the life of Jacob and Esau, the sons of Isaac, and all the days of Abraham were 175 years, and he died, and was gathered to his people in good old age, old and satisfied with days. And Isaac and Ishmael his sons buried him. And when the inhabitants of Canaan heard that Abraham was dead, they all came with their kings and princes and all their men to bury Abraham. And all the inhabitants of the land of Haran, and all the families of the house of Abraham, and all the princes and grandees, and the sons of Abraham by the concubines, all came when they heard of Abraham's death, and they requited Abraham's kindness, and comforted Isaac his son. And they buried Abraham in the cave which he brought from Ephraim the Hittite, and his children, for the possessions of a burial place. And all the inhabitants of Canaan, and all those who had known Abraham, wept for Abraham a whole year, and men and women mourned over him. And all the little children and all the inhabitants of the land wept on account of Abraham, for Abraham had been good to them all, and because he had been upright with mighty God Ahiah and men. And there arose not a man who feared mighty God Ahiah like unto Abraham, for he had feared his mighty God Ahiah from his youth, and had served mighty God Ahiah, and had gone in all his ways during his life, from his childhood to the day of his death. And mighty God Ahiah was with him, and delivered him from the counsels of Nimrod and his people. And when he had made war with the 4 kings of Elam, he conquered them. And he brought all the children of the earth to the service of mighty God Ahiah, and he taught them the ways of mighty God Ahiah, and caused them to know mighty God Ahiah. And he formed a grove, and he planted a vineyard therein, and he had always prepared in his tent meat and drink to those that passed through the land, that they might satisfy themselves in his house. And mighty God Ahiah delivered the whole earth on account of Abraham. And it was after the death of Abraham that mighty God Ahiah blessed his son Isaac and his children. And mighty God Ahiah was with Isaac, as he had been with his father Abraham. For Isaac kept all the commandments of mighty God Ahiah, as Abraham his father had commanded him. He did not turn to the right or to the left from the right path which his father and commanded him. Chapter 27. And Esau at that time, after the death of Abraham, frequently went in the field to hunt. And Nimrod, king of Babel, the same was Amraphel, also frequently went with his mighty men to hunt in the field, and to walk about with the men in the cool of the day. And Nimrod was observing Esau all the days, for a jealousy was formed in the heart of Nimrod against Esau all the days. And on a certain day Esau went in the field to hunt, and he found Nimrod walking in the wilderness with his 2 men. And all his mighty men and his people were with him in the wilderness, but they removed at a distance from him, and they went from him in different directions to hunt. And Esau concealed himself for Nimrod, and he lurked for him in the wilderness. And Nimrod and his men that were with him did not know him, and Nimrod and his men frequently walked about in the field at the cool of the day, and to know where his men were hunting in the field. And Nimrod and 2 of his men that were with him came to the place where they were, when Esau started suddenly from his lurking place, and drew his sword, and hastened and ran to Nimrod, and cut off his head. And Esau fought a desperate fight with the 2 men that were with Nimrod, and when they called out to him, Esau turned to them and smote them to death with his sword. And all the mighty men of Nimrod who had left him to go to the wilderness heard the cry at a distance, and they knew the voices of those 2 men, and they ran to know the cause of it, when they found their king and the 2 men that were with him lying dead in the wilderness. And when Esau saw the mighty men of Nimrod coming at a distance, he fled and thereby escaped. And Esau took the valuable garments of Nimrod, which Nimrod's father had bequeathed to Nimrod, and with which Nimrod prevailed over the whole land, and he ran and concealed them in his house. And Esau took those garments and ran into the city on account of Nimrod's men, and he came into his father's house wearied and exhausted from fight, and he was ready to die through grief, when he approached his brother Jacob and sat before him. And he said unto his brother Jacob, Behold, I shall die this day, and wherefore then do I want the birthright? And Jacob acted wisely with Esau in this matter, and Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, for it was so brought about by mighty God Ahiah. And Esau's portion in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham had brought for the children of Heth for the possessions of a burial ground, Esau also sold to Jacob, and Jacob brought all this from his brother Esau for value given. And Jacob wrote the whole of this in a book, and he testified the same with witnesses, and he sealed it, and the book remained in the hands of Jacob. And when Nimrod the son of Cush died, his men lifted him up and brought him in consternation, and buried him in his city. And all the days that Nimrod lived were 215 years, and he died. And the days that Nimrod reigned upon the people of the land were 185 years. And Nimrod died by the sword of Esau in shame and contempt. And the seed of Abraham caused his death, as he had seen in his dream. And at the death of Nimrod, his kingdom became divided into many divisions, and all those parts that Nimrod reigned over were restored to the respective kings of the land, who recovered them after the death of Nimrod. And all the people of the house of Nimrod were for a long time enslaved to all the other kings of the land. Chapter 28. And in those days, after the death of Abraham, in that year, mighty God Ahiah brought a heavy famine in the land. And whilst the famine was raging in the land of Canaan, Isaac rose up to go down to Egypt on account of the famine, and his father Abraham had done. And mighty God Ahiah appeared that night to Isaac, and he said to him, Do not go down to Egypt, but rise and go to Gerar, to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, and remain there till the famine shall cease. And Isaac rose up and went to Gerar, as mighty God Ahiah commanded him, and he remained there a full year. And when Isaac came to Gerar, the people of the land saw that Rebekah his wife was of a beautiful appearance. And the people of Gerar asked Isaac concerning his wife, and he said, She is my sister. For he was afraid to say she was his wife, lest the people of the land should slay him on account of her. And the princes of Abimelech went and praised the woman to the king, but he answered them not, neither did he attend to their words. But he had heard them say that Isaac declared her to be his sister, so the king reserved this within himself. And when Isaac had remained 3 months in the land, Abimelech looked out at the window, and he saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah his wife. For Isaac dwelt in the outer house belonging to the king, so that the house of Isaac was opposite the house of the king. And the king said unto Isaac, What is this thou hast done to us, in saying of thy wife, She is my sister? How easily might one of the great men of the people have lain with her, and thou wouldest then have brought guilt upon us. And Isaac said unto Abimelech, Because I was afraid lest I die on account of my wife, therefore I said, She is my sister. At that time Abimelech gave orders to all his princes and great men, that they took Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and brought them before the king. And the king commanded that they should dress them in princely garment, and make them ride through the streets of the city, and proclaim before them throughout the land, saying, This is the man, and this is his wife. Whoever toucheth this man or his wife shall surely die. And Isaac returned with his wife to the king's house, and mighty God Ahiah was with Isaac, and he continued to wax great, and lacking nothing. And mighty God Ahiah caused Isaac to find favor in the sight of Abimelech, and in the sight of all his subjects. And Abimelech acted well with Isaac, for Abimelech remembered the oath and the covenant that existed between his father and Abraham. And Abimelech said unto Isaac, Behold, the whole earth is before thee. Dwell wherever it may seem good in thy sight, until thou shalt return to thy land. And Abimelech gave Isaac fields and vineyards, and the best part of the land of Gerar, to sow and reap, and eat the fruit of the ground, until the days of the famine should have passed by. And Isaac sowed in that land, and received 100-fold in the same year, and mighty God Ahiah blessed him. And the man waxed great, and he had possessions of flocks, and possessions of herds, and great store of servants. And when the days of the famine had passed away, mighty God Ahiah appeared to Isaac, and said unto him, Rise up, go forth from this place, and return to thy land, to the land of Canaan. And Isaac rose up and returned to Hebron, which is in the land of Canaan, and he and all belonging to him, as mighty God Ahiah had commanded him. And after this, Shelach the son of Pakshad died in that year, which is the 18th year of the lives of Jacob and Esau. And all the days that Shelach lived were 433 years, and he died. At that time Isaac sent his younger son Jacob to the house of Shem and Eber, and he learned the instructions of mighty God Ahiah. And Jacob remained in the house of Shem and Eber for 32 years. And Esau his brother did not go, for he was not willing to go, and he remained in his father's house in the land of Canaan. And Esau was continually hunting in the fields to bring home what he could get. So Esau all the days. So did Esau all the days. And Esau was a designing and deceitful man, one who hunted after the hearts of men and inveigled them. And Esau was a valiant man in the field, and in the course of time went as usual to hunt. And he came as far as the field of Seir, that same is Edom. And he remained in the land of Seir, hunting in the field 1 year and 4 months. And Esau there saw in the land of Seir the daughter of a man of Canaan, and her name was Jehudit, the daughter of Beri, son of Epher, from the families of Heth, the son of Canaan. And Esau took her for a wife, and he came unto her 40 years old was Esau when he took her. And he brought her to Hebron, the land of his father's dwelling place, and he dwelt there. And it came to pass in those days, in the 110th year of the life of Isaac, that it is in the 50th year of the life of Jacob, in that year died Shem, the son of Noah. Shem was 600 years old at his death. And when Shem died, Jacob returned to his father to Hebron, which is in the land of Canaan. And in the 56th year of the life of Jacob, people came from Haran, and Rebekah was told concerning her brother Laban, the son of Bethuel. For the wife of Laban was barren in those days, and bare no children, and also all his handmaids bare none to him. And mighty God Ahiah afterwards remembered Adinah, the wife of Laban, and she conceived and bare twin daughters. And Laban called the names of his daughters, the name of the elder Leah, and the name of the younger Rachel. There you have it. Leah and Rachel were twins. And those people came and told these things to Rebekah, and Rebekah rejoiced greatly that mighty God Ahiah had visited her brother, and that he had gotten children. Blessed be his name. Chapter 29. And Isaac the son of Abraham became old and advanced in days, and his eyes became heavy through age. They were dim and could not see. And that time Isaac called unto Esau his son, saying, Get, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow. Rise up and go forth into the field, and get me some venison, and make me savory meat, and bring it to me, that I may eat, in order that I may bless thee before my death, as I have now become an old and gray-headed. And Esau did so, and he took his weapon and went forth into the field to hunt for venison, as usual, to bring to his father, as he had ordered him, to that he might bless him. And Rebekah heard all the words that Isaac had spoken unto Esau, and she hastened and called her son Jacob, saying, Thus did thy father speak unto thy brother Esau, and thus did I hear. Now therefore hasten and thou, and make that which I shall tell thee. Rise up and go, I pray thee, to the flock, and fetch me 2 fine kids of the goats, and I will get the savory meat for thy father, and thou shalt bring the savory meat, that he may eat before thy brother shall have come from the chase, in order that thy father may bless thee. And Jacob hastened and did as his mother had commanded him, and he made the savory meat and brought it before his father, before Esau had come from his chase. And Isaac said unto Jacob, What art thou, my son? Who art thou, my son? And he said, I am thy firstborn Esau. I have done as thou didst order me. Now therefore rise up, I pray thee, and eat of my hunt, in order that thy soul may bless me, as thou didst speak unto me. And Isaac rose up, and he ate, and he drank, and his heart was comforted, and he blessed Jacob. And Jacob went away from his father. And as soon as Isaac had blessed Jacob, and he had gone away from him, behold, Esau came from his hunt from the field, and he also made savory meat, and he brought it to his father to eat thereof, and to bless him. And Isaac said unto Esau, And who was he that had taken venison, and brought it me before thou camest, and who I did bless? And Esau knew that his brother Jacob had done this, and the anger of Esau was kindled against his brother Jacob, that he had acted thus toward him. And Esau said, Is he not rightfully called Jacob? For he has supplanted me twice. He took away my birthright, and now he has taken away my blessing. And Esau wept greatly. And when Isaac heard the voice of his son Esau weeping, Isaac said unto Esau, What can I do, my son? Thy brother came with subtlety and took away thy blessing. And Esau hated his brother Jacob on account of the blessing that his father had given him, and his anger was greatly roused against him. And Jacob was very much afraid of his brother Esau, and he rose up and fled to the house of Eber, the son of Shem, and he concealed himself there on account of his brother. And Jacob was 63 years old when he went forth from the land of Canaan, from Hebron. And Jacob was concealed in Eber's house 14 years on account of his brother Esau, and he there continued to learn the ways of mighty God Ahiah and his commandments. And when Esau saw that Jacob had fled and escaped from him, and that Jacob had cunningly obtained the blessing, then Esau grieved exceedingly, and he was also vexed at his father and mother. And he also rose up and took his wife, and went away from his father and mother to the land of Seir, and he dwelt there. And Esau saw there a woman from amongst the daughters of Heth, whose name was Basmath, the daughter of Elam the Hittite, and he took her for a wife in addition to his first wife. And Esau called her name Adah, saying, The blessing had in that time passed from him. And Esau dwelt in the land of Seir 6 months without seeing his father and mother. And afterward Esau took his wives and rose up and returned to the land of Canaan. And Esau placed his 2 wives in his father's house in Hebron. And the wives of Esau vexed and provoked Isaac and Rebekah with their works, for they walked not in the ways of mighty God Ahiah, but served their fathers' gods of wood and stone, as their father had taught them, and they were more wicked than their father. And they were according to the evil desires of their hearts, and they sacrificed and burnt incense to the Baalim. And Isaac and Rebekah became weary of them. And Rebekah said, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these which are of the daughters of the land, what good then is life unto me? And in those days Adah, the wife of Esau, conceived and bare him a son. And Esau called the name of the son that was born unto him Eliphaz. And Esau was 65 years old when she bare him. And Ishmael, the son of Abraham, died in those days, in the 64th year of the life of Jacob. And all the days that Ishmael lived were 137 years, and he died. And when Isaac heard that Ishmael was dead, he mourned for him, and Isaac lamented over him many days. And at the end of the 14 years of Jacob's residing in the house of Eber, Jacob desired to see his father and mother, and Jacob came to the house of his father and mother to Hebron. And Esau had in those days forgotten what Jacob had done to him in having taken the blessings from him in those days. And when Esau saw Jacob coming to his father and mother, he remembered what Jacob had done to him, and he was greatly incensed against him, and he sought to slay him. And Isaac the son of Abraham was old and advanced in days. And Esau said, Now my father's time is drawing nigh, that he must die, and when he shall die, I will slay my brother Jacob. And this was told to Rebekah, and she hastened and sent and called for Jacob her son. And she said unto him, Arise, go and flee to Haran to my brother Laban, and remain there for some time, until thy brother anger be turned from thee, and then shalt thou come back. And Isaac called unto Jacob, and said unto him, Take not a wife from the daughters of Canaan, for thus did our father Abraham commanded us, according to the word of mighty God Ahiah, which he had commanded him, saying, And to thy seed will I give thee this land, if thy children keep my covenant that I have made with thee. Then will I also perform to thy children that which I have spoken unto thee, and I will not forsake them. Now therefore, my son, hearken to my voice, to all that I shall command thee, and refrain from taking a wife from amongst the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Haran, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take unto thee a wife from the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. Therefore take heed lest thou should forget mighty God Ahiah, thy mighty God, in all his ways in the land to which thou goest, and shouldest get connected with the people of the land, and pursue vanity, and forsake mighty God Ahiah, Ariel Elohi. But when thou comest to the land, serve mighty God Ahiah there. Do not turn to the right or to the left from the way which I command thee, and which thou didst learn. And may mighty God Ahiah, our El Elohi, grant thee favor in the sight of the people of the earth, that thou mayest take there a wife according to thy choice, one who is good and upright in thy ways of mighty God Ahiah. And may mighty God Ahiah give unto thee and thy seed thy blessing of thy father Abraham, and make thee fruitful and multiply thee, and mayest thou become a multitude of people in the land whither thou goest. And may mighty God Ahiah cause thee to return to this land, the land of thy father's dwelling, with children, with great riches, with joy, and with pleasure. And Isaac finished commanding Jacob and blessing him, and he gave him many gifts together with silver and gold, and he sent him away. And Jacob hearkened to his father and mother. He kissed them and arose and went to Pan-haran. And Jacob was 77 years old when he went out from the land of Canaan, from Beersheba. And when Jacob went away to go to Haran, Esau called unto his son Eliphaz, and secretly spoke unto him, saying, Now hasten, take thy sword in thy hand, and pursue Jacob, and pass before him in the road, and lurk for him, and slay him with thy sword in one of the mountains, and take all belonging to him, and come back. And Eliphaz, the son of Esau, was an active man, and expert with the bow, as his father had taught him, and he was a noted hunter in the field, and a valiant man. And Eliphaz did as his father had commanded him. And Eliphaz was at that time 13 years old. And Eliphaz rose up and went and took 10 of his mother's brothers with him, and pursued Jacob. And he closely followed Jacob, and he lurked for him in the border of the land of Canaan, opposite to the city of Shechem. And Jacob saw Eliphaz and his men pursuing him, and Jacob stood still in the place in which he was going, in order to know what this was, for he did not know that thing. And Eliphaz drew his sword, and he went on advancing, he and his men, toward Jacob. And Jacob said unto them, What is to do with you that you have come hither? And what meaneth it that you pursued with your swords? And Eliphaz came near to Jacob, and he answered and said unto him, Thus did my father commanded me, and now therefore I will now deviate from the orders which my father gave me. And when Jacob saw that Esau had spoken to Eliphaz to employ force, Jacob then approached and supplicated Eliphaz and his men, saying to him, Behold, all that I have, and which my father and mother gave unto me, that take unto thee, and go from me, and do not slay me, and may this thing be accounted unto thee a righteousness. And mighty God Ahiah caused Jacob to find favor in the sight of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, and his men, and they hearkened to the voice of Jacob, and they did not put him to death. And Eliphaz and his men took all belonging to Jacob, together with the silver and gold that he brought with him from Beersheba. They left him nothing. And Eliphaz and his men went away from him, and they returned to Esau to Beersheba, and they told him all that had occurred to them with Jacob, and they gave him all that they had taken from Jacob. And Esau was indignant at Eliphaz his son, and at his men that were with him, because they had not put Jacob to death. And they answered and said unto Esau, Because Jacob supplicated us in this matter not to slay him, our pity was excited toward him, and we took all belonging to him, and brought it unto thee. And Esau took all the silver and gold which Eliphaz had taken from Jacob, and he put them by in his house. And at that time, when Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob, and had commanded him, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife from amongst the daughter of Canaan, and that the daughters of Canaan were bad in the sight of Isaac and Rebekah, then he went to the house of Ishmael his uncle, and in addition to his older wives, he took Michaela, the daughter of Ishmael, the, the sister of Nebaioth, for a wife. The last chapter for today, chapter 30. And Jacob went forth to continue his road to Haran, and he came as far as Mount Moriah, and he tarried there all night near the city of Luz. And mighty God Ahai appeared there unto Jacob on the night, and he said unto him, I am mighty God Ahai, mighty God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the mighty thy father. The land upon which thou liest I will give unto thee and thy seed. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee wherever thou goest, and I will multiply thy seed as the stars of heaven, and I will cause all thine enemies to fall before thee. And when they shall make war with thee, they shall not prevail over thee, and I will bring thee again unto this land with joy, with children, and with great riches. And Jacob awoke from his sleep, and he rejoiced greatly at the vision which he had seen, and he called that name of that place Bethel. And Jacob rose up from that place, quiet, rejoiced, and when he walked, his feet felt light to him for joy. And he went from there to the land of the children of the east, and he returned to Haran, and he sat by the shepherd's well. And he there found some men going from Haran to feed their flocks. And Jacob made inquiries of them, and they said, We are from Haran. And he said unto them, Do you know Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him, and behold, his daughter Rachel is coming along to feed her father's flock. Whilst he was yet speaking with them, Rachel, the daughter of Laban, came to feed her father's sheep, for she was a sheepherdess. And when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, he ran and kissed her, and lifted up his voice and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was the son of Rebekah, her father's sister. And Rachel ran and told her father, and Jacob continued to cry because he had nothing with him to bring to the house of Laban. And when Laban heard that his sister's son Jacob had come, he ran and kissed him, and embraced him, and brought him into the house, and gave him bread, and he ate. And Jacob related to Laban what his brother Esau had done to him, and what his son Eliphaz had done to him in the road. And Jacob resided in Laban's house for 1 month, and Jacob ate and drank in the house of Laban. And afterward Laban said unto Jacob, Tell me, what shall be thy wages, for how canst thou serve me for naught? And Laban had no sons, but only daughters, and his other wives and handmaids were still barren in those days. And these are the names of Laban's daughters, which his wife Adinah had borne unto him. The names of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger were Rachel. And Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored, and Jacob loved her. And Jacob said unto Laban, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel thy younger daughter. And Laban consented to this, and Jacob served Laban 7 years for his daughter Rachel. And in the 2nd year of Jacob's dwelling in Haran, that is in the 79th year of the life of Jacob, in that year died Eber the son of Shem. He was 464 years old at his death. And when Jacob heard that Eber was dead, he grieved exceedingly, and he lamented and mourned over him many days. And in the 3rd year of Jacob's dwelling in Haran, Basmat, the daughter of Ishmael, the wife of Esau, bare unto him a son, and Esau called his name Ruel. And in the 4th year of Jacob's residence in the house of Laban, mighty God Ahai visited Laban, and remembered him on account of Jacob, and sons were born unto him. And his firstborn was Beor, his second was Alib, and the third was Koresh. And mighty God Ahai gave Laban riches and honor, sons and daughters, and the man increased greatly on account of Jacob. And Jacob in those days served Laban in all manner of work in the house and in the field, and the blessing of mighty God Ahai was in all that belonged to Laban in the house and in the field. And in the 5th year died Jehudit, the daughter of Beeri, the wife of Esau, in the land of Canaan, and she had no sons but daughters only. And these are the names of her daughters which she bare to Esau. The name of the elder was Morizith, and the names of the younger was Puid. And when Jehudid died, Esau rose up and went to Seir to hunt in the field as usual, and Esau dwelt in the land of Seir for a long time. And in the 6th year Esau took for a wife, in addition to his other wives, Ahlibamah, the daughter of Zebeon the Hivite, and Esau brought her to the land of Canaan. And Ahlibamah conceived and bare unto Esau 3 sons, Urish, Yalam, and Korah. And in those days in the land of Canaan there were a quarrel between the herdsmen of Esau and the herdsmen of the inhabitants of the land of Canaan. For Esau cattle and goods were too abundant for him to remain in the land of Canaan in his father's house, and the land of Canaan could not bear him on account of his cattle. And when Esau saw that his quarreling increased with the inhabitants of the land of Canaan, he rose up and took his wives and his sons and daughters and all belonging to him, and the cattle which he possessed, and all his property that he had acquired in the land of Canaan, and he went away from the inhabitants of the land to the land of Seir, and Esau and all belonging to him dwelt in the land of Seir. But from time to time Esau would go and see his father and mother in the land of Canaan, and Esau intermarried with the Horites, and he gave his daughters to the sons of Seir the Horites. And he gave his elder daughter Morizit to Anna, and the son of Zebeon his wife's brother, and Puit he gave to Azar, the son of Bilham the Horite. And Esau dwelt in the mountain, he and his children, and they were fruitful and multiplied. And we're going to stop at that today. Thank you for listening.